Welcome back to the cryptowrld channel, everyone. My name is Josh, and right now, Bitcoin has been moving closer towards this next bullish price target based on the massive liquidity still building above the price of Bitcoin. But while this has been happening, the price of Bitcoin is now starting to run into a significant level of resistance in the short term that we need to pay attention to. So I'll be talking about that in just a moment, alongside XRP now perfectly starting to struggle and see a slight rejection from this exact level of resistance in the short term, alongside Solana also struggling and starting to reject from this exact level of resistance in the short term. So I'll be talking about all of that and more later in the video, so definitely watch to the end. First of all, starting off on the weekly Bitcoin price chart, and currently the super trending indicator is still sitting in the red, and we're still playing out this massive oversold signal in the weekly Bitcoin RSI. So obviously on the weekly time frame, not a lot has changed over the last 1 day here. And if we're taking a look at the 3-day Bitcoin price chart, like I already explained in my last video, obviously just in the shorter term here, we're playing out a perfect retest and currently bouncing from this previous area of resistance, now acting as new support, which is technically bullish price structure. Once again, breaking out above resistance, flipping that into support is obviously price structure that, at least for now, is building in the bullish direction. So overall, the breakout above this resistance is still technically active, with the next significant resistance on the 3-day time frame starting at closer towards 86,000. But of course, in the shorter term or smaller time frames, we could potentially find other points of resistance along the way, which I'll talk about in just a moment. But that is the current situation on the 3-day time frame, at least for now, still looking more bullish than bearish if we're talking about, let's just say, the next week or couple of weeks or so, for example. And if we're taking a look at the shorter term moves, looking at the 4-hour Bitcoin price chart, obviously just over the last 1 to 2 days, we've continued another little short-term bullish move closer towards this massive area of liquidity. Looking at the Bitcoin liquidation heat map, looking at the last 2 weeks worth of price action, obviously we have a small amount of liquidity building below the price at around 74,500 to 74.9k, but most of the liquidity in the short term is still this area above the price, in between 79.5k to $80,000. And obviously over the last half a week or so, I've been targeting this area right here ever since obviously we were in this previous short-term cool-off, a bit of a pullback in the price. I've been talking about how it's quite likely that eventually in the shorter term here, the price will try to come back up towards roughly 79,500, towards these highs, to wipe out this liquidity. And so far, that's exactly what the price has been doing over the last couple of days as expected, but obviously we're not there just yet. So this does suggest, as always, no guarantees, but this does suggest as a likely scenario, a high probability that in the shorter term, potentially within the next couple of days, it is likely that the price will make an attempt to actually break these highs right here, or hit these highs at around 79.5k, potentially reaching as high as closer towards 80,000. But like I explained in my last video, we need to be aware of the risk of a potential trap. A bull trap is basically what that would be called in this situation. Of course, if we push a little higher, let's just say towards around 80,000, and then we wipe out this liquidity, but then let's just say if the stock market on Monday, Tuesday starts cooling off a bit further, then in that situation, that could cause a bit of a bull trap, something like this. So just be aware of that potential risk within the coming days or so. But what we have even before potentially playing out anything like that is, of course, immediate resistance that we are running into right now in the immediate short term. Before we can even hit this liquidity here at 79.5k to 80,000, we do have a key level of resistance here at just under 79.5k, closer towards around 79.2k to 79.3k. We do have a key level of resistance, at least here on the 4-hour time frame, around that level on the price chart, as we can see here, based on these 2 previous highs, and obviously this local high starting to struggle a little bit at around 79.2 to 79.3k approximately. And in fact, if the price of Bitcoin starts playing out a bit further of a rejection here, a bit more of a rejection in the coming hours or over the next 1 or 2 days from this point of resistance here, in that situation, there's actually a possible inverse head and shoulders pattern forming right now. Obviously not currently confirmed, but if we see a further rejection, let's just say if we come back down towards roughly 77,000 or 77.5k, somewhere around here, and then see another little bounce back up towards that liquidity to wipe out that liquidity, once again in that situation, that would potentially form an inverse head and shoulders pattern, which is technically a bullish price pattern if it ultimately forms and then confirms, which would require, first of all, this right shoulder forming. So first a rejection and then a bounce, and then to confirm a potential price pattern like this, we'll need to see the breakout above the neckline, which in this situation is at roughly 79.3k approximately. And so that is a potential price pattern forming, something to watch out for in the coming days in case we first see a bit of a rejection from this resistance before potentially eventually coming back up towards this liquidity to try to take out this liquidity at some stage in the coming days or so. Once again, in between 79.5k to 80,000 still as a technical price target, but once again, no guarantees. That's just a major area to watch out for based on the liquidation heat map. And so basically we're at a make or break moment in the short term. It is quite likely we will struggle a little bit around this area based on obviously past price action here. But overall, in terms of the trend, technically speaking, we've not yet fully confirmed a breakdown of this bullish trend or this bullish price structure here on the 3-day time frame, at least for now, while we're still holding above 72k to 76,000. Obviously, while we're still above that area, the price structure is technically still more bullish than bearish, despite seeing short-term rejections and short-term pullbacks along the way during the bullish price structure. And so those are some short-term risks to consider. And of course, the price structure, the trend, technical price targets, and potential patterns and signals to watch out for moving forward. Overall, my expectations for the price of Bitcoin, and obviously on the larger time frames, my expectations and the signals not changed at all over the last one day. And if we're taking a look at the Bitcoin dominance chart on the daily time frame, right now the Bitcoin dominance is starting to struggle at least a little bit at pretty much the exact top side of this area of resistance at around 61% in the Bitcoin dominance here on the daily time frame. And so obviously, if we see a little more of a struggle here, let's just say if we start to see some sort of slight rejection, that could mean that some of the altcoins could start at least slightly doing a bit better than whatever Bitcoin is doing, not necessarily an altcoin season or anything like that, just potentially slightly outperforming Bitcoin a little bit if we actually see a bit more of a struggle here in the short term. But if ultimately we break out past this point, which we are getting very close to a breakout here, we're still ultimately testing this resistance. We've not yet fully confirmed a rejection or a breakout, at least as of recording this video. But if we actually start confirming multiple candle closes well above 61% and actually hold above this area, confirming the breakout in the Bitcoin dominance, in that situation, of course, that would be a bullish signal, a breakout towards the upside, bullish price structure for the Bitcoin dominance, which would mean basically Bitcoin will likely continue to outperform a lot of the altcoin market on average, which means a lot of the altcoins will likely suffer. They will do worse than whatever Bitcoin is doing, which doesn't necessarily mean bearish price action. For example, if the Bitcoin price is moving towards the upside while the Bitcoin dominance is moving towards the upside, altcoin prices can potentially still move towards the upside in those circumstances, just not necessarily as much as what Bitcoin is doing. And so that is definitely something important to pay attention to in the coming days here for the Bitcoin dominance, testing a key level right now in the short term. And if we're taking a look at Ethereum on the 3-day time frame, right now the price of ETH is obviously still struggling in this massive area of resistance as expected, still sitting in between 2.2k to 2.4k, especially that 2.4k level as a significant level of resistance. And if we're taking a look at the 4-hour time frame, looking at the very short-term moves, obviously in terms of the shorter-term structure, we are losing that previous bullish momentum. We're still kind of in this cool-off. Obviously, this is a perfect example of an altcoin obviously underperforming Bitcoin right now due to the fact that the Bitcoin dominance has been pushing higher, at least in the shorter term in recent days and weeks here. And so this is basically what I mean, where yes, Ethereum will likely follow similar price action to Bitcoin. And yes, if Bitcoin pumps, it means we'll likely follow basically something similar for Ethereum and a lot of altcoins. So maybe some some sort of slight bullish move, but most likely a lot of these altcoins doing a bit worse than whatever Bitcoin is doing. So while Bitcoin is obviously pretty much testing these highs right here, almost testing these local highs right here, as we can see, obviously Ethereum along with other altcoins are still a decent bit lower than these local highs. And that will likely continue to be the case, especially if we see a breakout in the Bitcoin dominance. So for the altcoin holders out there, the altcoin traders out there, keep a close eye on this Bitcoin dominance, which of course I will keep you up to date every day here on the channel. But once again, as I just said, if we actually confirm some sort of breakout here in the coming days or weeks for the Bitcoin dominance, then expect a lot of these altcoins to suffer and do a lot worse than whatever Bitcoin is doing. And as for support and resistance to watch out for, we do have a key level of resistance here, which we're pretty much perfectly rejecting from, something that I did warn about in my last video just yesterday. That's sitting at around 23.30 approximately. And above that level, I'd expect major resistance once again at closer towards 2.4K, as I said earlier. And as I've been saying for months now on the channel, 2.4K is a key level to watch out for, currently acting as strong resistance. And as for support, if we continue another slight little pullback or rejection here, in that situation, I would expect a small amount of support at around 22.70, more support at around 22.30, and significant support in between 21.50 to 2.2K. And if we're taking a look at XRP on the weekly time frame, technically the longer term trend has not changed over the last one day. We're technically still within a larger bearish trend. We've not yet fully confirmed any massive reversal signal to end this larger bearish trend, but at least in the shorter term, we're still holding this massive level of support here, still sitting at around $1.30. So not a lot has changed on the weekly XRP price chart over the last one day. But if we're taking a look at the short-term moves, looking at the 4-hour XRP price chart, obviously just over the last 1 to almost 2 days now, the price is perfectly struggling around this exact level of resistance that I've been warning about at around $1.39. So once again, as I've already been saying here on the channel, expect a lot of resistance, at least in the short term, around $1.39 here in the short term, which is exactly what's happening right now. And if we ultimately continue a bit more of a rejection here, in that situation, I would expect some support at around $1.37, but the next important level of support is at around $1.35. Below that, we have more support at $1.32, and of course, very important support, significant support at pretty much exactly $1.30. And we also kind of have a bit of an inverse head and shoulders pattern forming right now, not yet confirmed, but forming here on the 4-hour time frame and slightly smaller time frames here for the price of XRP just in the immediate short term. But in order for this to actually confirm, we need to see a breakout very soon, ideally in the coming hours or over the next day or so, a breakout above this level right here at around $1.39 to $1.40 to actually potentially confirm this inverse head and shoulders pattern, which, in case you're wondering, the technical price target for this potential price pattern, if it confirms, once again, I want to make that clear, not yet confirmed, but if it confirms, that would set up a short-term bullish price target at around $1.44. So from the neckline right here, the breakout to the price target, there's about a 3% move towards the upside. Obviously not a massive move, but remember, this is only on the 4-hour time frame. And for example, a 3% move like this can be turned into, let's just say, a 30% profit with a 10x leverage long position in that example, not financial advice. And of course, around $1.44, especially closer towards $1.45, would be the next significant resistance to watch out for if we actually confirm a breakout, first of all, above around $1.39 approximately. And if we're taking a look at the price of Solana on the 3-day time frame, obviously not a lot has changed here over the last 1 day, so I'll keep this quick. We're still in the longer term bearish trend, but in the shorter term to mid-term during the trend, we're still in this massive sideways price range between support and resistance. So we still have strong support in between $75 to $80 and strong resistance in between $95 to $105. And if we're taking a look at the shorter term moves on the 4-hour time frame, right now the price of Solana is perfectly starting to struggle at pretty much this exact level of resistance here at around $85. So once again, continue to expect strong resistance from within around $85 to $86. This is an area of resistance to watch out for that I've already been warning about for quite some time now on the channel, since the moment we broke back below this area. Obviously, it was previous support, now acting as new resistance in between $85 to $86. But if the price eventually confirms a breakout back above this area, and holds above this area, in that situation, the next important resistance starts closer towards around 88.50, 88.60 approximately. And obviously, now that we're playing out a slight little rejection, struggling around this resistance at $85 to $86, of course, the next support to watch out for in the short term is potentially around here at just above $83, around 83.10, 83.20 approximately. But if we break past that point in that situation, the next important level of support is at around $81.50. And in terms of what is likely going to happen next, once again, follow my Bitcoin analysis to figure out what is likely going to happen for a lot of these altcoins moving forward. And especially once again with the Bitcoin dominance currently looking bullish, at least in terms of the short-term move here, and especially if we see a breakout in the Bitcoin dominance. Once again, that means a lot of these altcoins, Solana included, will likely underperform Bitcoin, at least slightly underperform Bitcoin, potentially massively underperform Bitcoin if we actually see a confirmed breakout in the Bitcoin dominance. So keep that in mind moving forward. We're at a crucial moment in the market, at least in the short term. And if we're taking a look at Chainlink on the 3-day time frame, obviously we've not yet confirmed the reversal out of this longer term bearish trend, but in the shorter term to mid-term, we're still in this massive sideways price range, bouncing between support and resistance. So we still have strong support in between $7.90 to $8.50 and strong resistance in between $9.50 to $10. So continue to expect the price of Chainlink to bounce in this massive range here, most likely for weeks to come. And in terms of the short-term moves, once again, we're likely going to see similar moves in the short term for Chainlink as what I've been saying throughout the video for a lot of these crypto assets. So pay attention to these other assets to figure out what is likely going to happen for Chainlink and a lot of the market on average. And so overall, those are my expectations, the key levels and signals to watch out for moving forward. And of course, if you want to trade any of these moves in the price of any crypto, check out the links below this video in the description and in the pinned comment to those crypto exchanges if you want to take advantage of massive bonuses that are only available using those links to certain exchanges. And of course, if you want to actually know how you can trade these moves, no matter what direction the price goes, to profit at all times in the market, then make sure to watch these videos popping up right here on your screen, because the video in the top left shows you how you can profit from bullish or bearish price action using long positions or short positions, and the video in the bottom left shows you how you can easily profit from choppy sideways price action. But anyway, that is everything that I have to say for today. I really hope you enjoyed, and I'll see you all in the next video.